One thing you've probably heard me say from time to time on Weekly 50 is that when I take photos and post them on here, or just the photos that I take that I find special, they're not necessarily because of the artistry. It's often because they tell a story, and that's what you see here. This photo, I've said this for other photos, it's not going to win any awards. It's not about the artistry of this particular image. I took this because I wanted to tell a story, and it's a story that you're probably not going to know unless you were here to build this gingerbread house. Like it's kind of a personal photo, and that's fine. I think we all do that. We all take photos that mean something to us that don't necessarily have to mean anything to other people. But because this is Weekly 50 and you're listening to the audio, I thought I'd give you a little peek behind the curtain, so to speak. So we visited Grandma and Grandpa over Christmas break, and one of the things that we did with them was build this gingerbread house. Grandma had it for my two kids, and they spent a couple days constructing this. I'm not sure what the green things are. Like, I think this whole thing is edible. It looks like there's clay stuck to the front, but it's probably frosting or something. And it was just fun to see our kids get to do this with their grandparents over the course of a couple days. And they had to squeeze the icing out of a plastic bag and had to learn how to do that. And then they had to do something with all these decorations. So it was just this fun experience that everybody got to have. And it's called Don't Eat because at the top, spelled out, you can barely read it. It actually says Don't Eat. Those colored balls stuck to the top with the icing. And I wanted to take a picture of this in more than just like an iPhone snapshot. So I had my D750, my macro lens, and I thought, well, I'm going to get in cool and do like a cool macro shot. Well, I mean, I guess I could have, but this seemed more interesting to me. So even though this is taken with a macro lens, it is clearly not a macro shot, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be. That lens is just a great all-around performer, which is one reason I really like it. The trick for me when I shot this was trying to figure out what to focus on and what aperture to use. As I usually do, I started like way wide open, like f2.8, f3.2, those types of large apertures. And it was not working. The depth of field was just way too small. And so I started stopping down, and I had my camera on the tripod so I could shoot at low ISO and get a nice clean shot, even at a smaller aperture. So I think this is f8. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I ended up focusing on the front, so that green square, I guess it's a window on the right-hand side, that's in focus. And then you can see the depth of field is large enough that there's other things behind that are in focus and other things that are in front that are in focus, but it does start to get out of focus as you get down the little gumdrop path leading towards the front gate, I guess, of the yard, if this were a real house. And up at the top of the roof line, that's out of focus. And I really found that to be pleasing. I like that degree of in focus and out of focus elements. I specifically positioned this so it was angled, and I also positioned this against the fireplace, which you see in the background. And it's not the most award-winning composition ever, but I thought it did a nice job of giving some sort of background that would let the colors in this gingerbread house kind of pop out. If it was a white background, I think it just wouldn't have worked out so well. And if it was a multicolor background, I think it would have distracted a little bit from the multicolor elements in this shot. So the black background, it turned out great. I was really happy with how this turned out. Even though it's not a macro close-up shot, that's okay. It doesn't have to be. It means something to me, and it's still a good photo, and it tells a story to me and my wife when we look at this. And really, that's one of the best parts about photography, if you ask me.